Every defender is taught the same lesson. Stay calm. Don't dive in. Don't rush. Don't panic. Because the moment panic takes over, football stops becoming a game of decisions and starts becoming a game of survival. For decades, the world's greatest defenders built their reputations on composure. They could read danger before it happened, delay the attacker, and make the impossible look routine. It was the foundation of elite defending. But every so often, football produces a player who doesn't just challenge that foundation. He destroys it. Long before Lionel Messi danced through entire teams or Cristiano Ronaldo redefined goal scoring, there was a striker who made even the most experienced defenders question everything they knew. He wasn't frightening because he was fast. Plenty of players were fast. He wasn't unstoppable because he could dribble. Football has always celebrated great dribblers. Ronaldo Nazário became different because he gave defenders no time to believe they were in control. Every touch carried three possibilities. He could explode past you, he could shift the ball the opposite way, he could shoot before you had even planted your feet. The closer he came, the less certain every decision became. And in football, uncertainty is the birthplace of panic. People remember Ronaldo for the goals, the stepovers, the World Cup, and the smile that returned after unimaginable injuries. But perhaps those memories hide the most extraordinary part of his story. Because Ronaldo wasn't just scoring against defenders, he was making them afraid of what might happen next. Before Europe feared Ronaldo Nazário, football was simply an escape. He grew up in Bento Ribeiro, a working-class neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro, where dreams were often much bigger than the streets that contained them. Like thousands of Brazilian children, he spent endless hours playing football wherever space allowed. But unlike most children, Ronaldo rarely waited for the game to come to him. Every time he received the ball, his first instinct was to attack. He wasn't interested in slowing the game down or protecting possession. He wanted to move toward defenders, forcing them into situations they weren't ready for. That instinct was shaped by futsal as much as football. The smaller court gave Ronaldo almost no time to think. Every touch had to be quick. Every decision had to be immediate. There wasn't enough space to outrun opponents, so he learned to manipulate them instead. A slight body feint, a sudden change of direction, a burst of acceleration. By the time defenders reacted, the ball had already disappeared. Those habits would become the foundation of his game. Long before he terrified the world's best defenders, he had learned that the greatest advantage wasn't speed alone. It was making your opponent hesitate. As Ronaldo's reputation grew, scouts quickly realized they were watching someone different. At São Cristóvão and later Cruzeiro, goals came with astonishing ease, but it wasn't just the numbers that impressed people. It was the way they happened. Defenders looked prepared 1 second and completely exposed the next. Former World Cup winner Jairzinho, who helped guide Ronaldo early in his career, recognized that this wasn't a striker waiting for chances inside the penalty area. This was a forward capable of creating panic from anywhere on the pitch. He famously described Ronaldo as a phenomenon long before the rest of the world adopted the nickname. By the time Ronaldo left Brazil for Europe, his talent was already undeniable. What nobody realized was that Europe wasn't about to meet another gifted young striker. It was about to discover that even the greatest defenders could be taught something they had never experienced before. What it truly felt like to panic. When Ronaldo arrived at PSV Eindhoven in 1994, European football believed it understood what made a great striker. The complete forward was expected to dominate in the air, play with his back to goal, and finish chances created by others. Ronaldo did almost none of those things. Instead, he collected the ball far from the penalty area, turned toward defenders, and attacked them directly. It wasn't just unusual. It was deeply uncomfortable for the players trying to stop him. They were preparing to defend a striker. Ronaldo kept behaving like a winger, a playmaker, and a sprinter all at once. His goals came in remarkable numbers, but they only hinted at what defenders were experiencing. Ronaldo's greatest weapon wasn't his acceleration, it was the uncertainty he created before he even reached full speed. The first touch might take him inside, the second might send him outside. He could glide past one defender, shrug off another, and still have the composure to finish. There was no reliable pattern to study, no predictable movement to anticipate. Every duel felt like solving a puzzle whose answer changed the moment you thought you understood it. Against Ronaldo, hesitation became inevitable, and hesitation against a player that explosive was often fatal. His move to Barcelona in 1996 transformed that feeling into fear. Surrounded by technically gifted teammates, Ronaldo wasn't asked to stay high up the pitch waiting for service. He became the attack itself. Every time Barcelona regained possession, defenders immediately began retreating, not because Ronaldo had already beaten them, but because they understood what could happen if they stood still for even a second. He didn't just carry the ball toward goal, he carried uncertainty with him. That was the difference between Ronaldo and every other young superstar of his generation. Most forwards forced defenders to react after making their move. Ronaldo forced them to react before he had made one. And once a defender starts guessing instead of knowing, panic quietly replaces composure. Then, against Compostela, football witnessed 90 seconds that explained exactly why the world's best defenders had stopped trusting their own instincts. On the 12th of October, 1996, Barcelona faced Compostela in a league match that should have been remembered as just another victory. Instead, it produced one of the most studied goals in football history. To most fans, it was a breathtaking solo run. To defenders, it was something much more revealing. It was a lesson in how panic spreads. Ronaldo received the ball inside his own half with several defenders between him and the goal. Ordinarily, that should have been enough. One defender slows the attack, another provides cover. The rest close the space. It is one of football's oldest defensive principles. But Ronaldo wasn't simply running at defenders. He was forcing them to abandon those principles one decision at a time. The first defender stepped in too early, worried that giving Ronaldo space would allow him to accelerate. Ronaldo skipped past him. The next defender hesitated, uncertain whether to challenge or delay. That hesitation became an invitation. Another lunged. Another was dragged out of position. Within seconds, Barcelona weren't attacking one organized defensive line anymore. They were attacking a series of isolated players, each trying to solve a problem that had already become impossible. The defenders weren't communicating. They weren't controlling the situation. They were reacting to fear. That was Ronaldo's true brilliance. Every defender believed he was making the correct decision. Yet every decision only created more uncertainty for the next teammate. By the time Ronaldo calmly finished the move, the goal felt almost inevitable, not because the defenders lacked ability, but because panic had quietly dismantled the structure they depended on. Sir Bobby Robson later described Ronaldo as a footballer from another dimension, a player capable of doing things no tactical plan could truly prepare for. Watching that goal today, it is easy to admire the pace and the dribbling. What is harder to notice is the emotion it created, because long before Ronaldo found the back of the net, the defenders had already lost the battle inside their own mind. For a while, it seemed impossible to imagine anything stopping Ronaldo Nazário. Defenders couldn't contain him. Goalkeepers struggled to predict him. Coaches redesigned entire defensive plans around him, only to watch them collapse within minutes. But football has a cruel habit of introducing an opponent no player can outsmart. For Ronaldo, that opponent wasn't another defender. It was his own body. The devastating knee injuries at Inter Milan didn't just threaten his career, they threatened the very qualities that had made him unique. His game depended on explosive acceleration, violent changes of direction, and the confidence to attack defenders without hesitation. Those injuries attacked every one of those strengths. As months turned into years of surgeries and rehabilitation, many believed football had already seen the last version of the real Ronaldo. The player who once terrified Europe had become a question nobody could answer. Then came the 2002 FIFA World Cup. It wasn't simply a comeback. It was proof that greatness isn't always measured by returning exactly as you were. Ronaldo scored 8 goals, finished as the tournament's top scorer, and led Brazil to a 5th World Cup, including 2 unforgettable goals in the final against Germany. The pace was still there. The finishing remained ruthless. But something had changed. He no longer relied on frightening defenders with endless bursts over 40 meters. He frightened them because even after everything his body had endured, he could still decide a match with a single movement. Panic had evolved. It no longer came from wondering if Ronaldo would outrun you. It came from wondering if you could survive the one chance he needed. His achievements only strengthened that legacy. 2 Ballon d'Or awards, 3 FIFA World Player of the Year titles, 2 World Cups, countless league titles and individual honors across Brazil, the Netherlands, Spain, and Italy. Yet trophies alone cannot explain why players like Zinedine Zidane, Paolo Maldini, and so many of his greatest contemporaries still speak about Ronaldo with a different kind of admiration. They weren't praising statistics. They were remembering a feeling. The feeling that no matter how perfectly you defended, Ronaldo could still make certainty disappear. Football has changed since Ronaldo Nazário first terrified Europe. Defenders are faster, tactical systems are more organized, data analysts can study every movement a player makes, coaches prepare for opponents with a level of detail that barely existed during Ronaldo's career. Yet despite all that progress, there is still no perfect answer for a player who makes defenders doubt themselves. That is why Ronaldo's legacy has never faded. People often describe him as the complete striker because he could finish with either foot, dribble at extraordinary speed, create his own chances, and score from almost any position. But those qualities were never the true masterpiece. They were simply the tools. The masterpiece was what they did to the minds of the players standing in front of him. Every feint carried uncertainty. Every burst of acceleration forced another impossible decision. Every touch reminded defenders that they were only one mistake away from becoming the next highlight replayed around the world. Against Ronaldo, confidence slowly turned into caution, caution into hesitation, and hesitation into panic. That is why so many legendary defenders still speak about him with unusual respect. They weren't remembering a striker who scored goals. They were remembering a striker who took away their greatest strength, the ability to remain composed. Football teaches defenders that the game belongs to the player who makes the better decision. Ronaldo repeatedly proved that the player who controls your emotions controls your decisions as well. Perhaps that is why clips of Ronaldo Nazário still feel timeless. Modern fans admire the speed, the step-overs, and the unforgettable finishes, but the players who faced him remember something much deeper. They remember the moment they looked into his eyes and realized they no longer knew what he was about to do, because football has always told defenders to stay calm. Ronaldo Nazário became a legend by making calm impossible.